Hi, it's Helen from Sportswear Chatter. Thanks for taking the time to watch one of my Clo 3D videos. This is the first one of a number of football shirt design ones I'm planning. In this one we're going to concentrate on creating a multi-layered collar. So this garment is a basic t-shirt block and I've removed the stitching at the centre front of this V-neck and shortened the length of the front collar pieces. You can see the pattern pieces in the 2D window. So we're going to start with creating a double layered collar which would be bagged out along the top edge. So transform pattern, shortcut A, click on both your front collar pattern pieces and right click copy and paste, or you can use the generic shortcut Ctrl C and V or Command on a Mac. Next, zoom in so you can see clearly. We are going to stitch the pieces, starting with the top edge. Pick free sewing, as this is more than one segment, and click on your starting point. Trace and click the end point. The collar pieces are linked so it automatically stitches the mirrored pieces. I'm also going to stitch along at the bottom so the pieces sit flat. We can use segment sewing on the bottom edge as it is one part with no extra points. Shortcut A or select transform pattern and go into your 3D window. Highlight each new piece in turn and right click. Pick superimpose under and they neatly pop behind. Let's then repeat on the back collar. Copy and paste either by right click or shortcut, and then stitch using free stitching. We can then position the back piece. Quick shortcuts to move your avatar around are 2 for the front, 8 for a back view. Other side views are 1, 4 and 6. Then we are selecting the piece, right click and superimpose under as we did before. Now the collar pieces are in the correct position, we can stitch the side seams of the under collar together. Segment sew and click on the sides. Make sure there is no crossing in the threads. And then press spacebar to render. Next we're going to create an inner layer for the centre of the neckline. I've kept the initial collar pattern piece and have recoloured it so it's easy to see the layers. So I need to work out how long I want it. I'm going to use the tape measure. Here I have zoomed in and selected the tape measure tool in the 3D window. I'm then going to click and hold down Ctrl or Command to get a curved line. I'll make sure that there is a good overlap so it sits flat and no edges are seen. I will then note down the measurement and then delete. Next I'll alter the length of the under collar pattern piece so it matches the measurement I've just taken. Edit pattern, shortcut Z. Highlight the bottom edge and right click, choosing change length. Move the pop-up box so you can see your pattern piece and check you're removing the extra length off the right edge, the side seam edge. To shorten the top edge, I'm going to hold down Shift so it follows a straight line and drag it across. I want this edge to slope into the collar. I'm just going to delete the notch which was on the original pattern piece. Next I'm going to add the finish point to the neckline edge to help when we are stitching. So the length we've got is 18 millimeters. I'm going to select the different sections, do the maths, and then shortcut X to add a point. And right click on the line where you think it's going to be, or just anywhere really, and type in your sums, which here is 52.3. Back to the stitching, free stitching and sew the bottom edge. I'm just doing one layer as this would be a flat knit insert. Transform pattern, shortcut A, and now position the pattern piece in the 3D window. This starts to get a little bit messy. Either use the gizmo to pull it into the correct place or right click and superimpose under. You might still have to use the gizmo a little bit to get it exactly where you want. We can then right click on the pattern piece in the 2D window and select symmetrical pattern with sewing. To render the collar to how you want it, you may need to move the previous collar piece out a little so you can see all the layers and make sure they're in the right order. Select each pattern piece or collar piece in turn and use the gizmo to move them out a little. The inner rib needs to come up a bit and also move closer to the body. Let's repeat that on the other side. It is easier to highlight each pattern piece in the 2D window so we can make sure we're moving our intended piece. As you can see from the render, I didn't quite layer the pieces up correctly. We'll stitch the centre front seam and see if that helps. You can also just pull the shirt around a little to achieve your look. If this doesn't work, I'd go back to selecting each pattern piece in turn and reposition with the gizmo. Or right click and request superimpose under again. Finally, we've got them in the right order, but I'm just going to play around a little with this inner collar so it sits flatly under the outer collar. Edit pattern, shortcut Z, and let's extend the pattern piece by using the arrow keys on the keyboard. I also want to have a difference in the height from the outer collar to the inner collar. So I will select the centre front edge, right click and change length. I will change the length on both sides of this under collar piece. Then I can render again and assess my changes. I still feel that back neck is gaping too much. I'm going to increase the top edge on the under collar so it isn't pulling the front neck too tightly. And then also I'm going to reduce the outer collar's top edge length a little. That's the end of the collar part of the garment. I will post soon on some graphics and branding. Please like and subscribe. It makes me happy.